And my man Russia is doing a lot of poking, even though it looks like it's not looking too good for him, man. So we're gonna start with Cappy army by supplying and supplies from Ukraine. And I think he means, I don't know which supply he means. Maybe he means the Russian ones. Let's take a look.
Year, logistics has become the defining problem for the war in Ukraine for both armies. Ukraine estimates that half of its battlefield casualties now occur in the so-called last mile of tactical resupply. The situation for Russian forces is likely similar. So today, we're going to trace the journey of a single shipment of artillery ammunition for both armies.
I think he even went to the Russian and the Ukraine front line, I think. That guy is...
From their factory floor to the barrel of a cannon on the front, and learn exactly how and where.
Today, Russia now is the president of the UN Security Council. You guys can... What are you yapping? UN Security Council, Russia. What are you talking about? 40 minutes ago. Statement by the first deputy, permanent representative Dmitry Polyansky at the UNGA meeting of the use of the veto on a UNSC draft resolution in the Middle East. It changes every month. Okay. The cool thing is about these politics streams, I'm learning a lot. Thank you, Fascist Pat. I'm gonna permaban you, no hate, but Fascist Pat? It's kind of fucked up name, bro. I'm gonna just quickly permaban you. But thanks for the sub, though. I appreciate it. Okay. Cool.
That journey is contested. Every month, Russia has to supply their forces with an estimated 120,000 artillery shells. Their journey starts at the Svedleb plant in Nizhny Novgorod Oblast, a 1,300-kilometer or 2 to 3 day journey to the front in Pokrovsk. Ukrainian forces contest this artillery shipment immediately with long-range drone strikes against the ammunition plant.
Information is also so important to know where it's being built, when it's coming down the road. So important, right?
Beginning in 2025. This is why Moscow has moved ammunition production further inland into Siberia at the Bisk-Olin plant, which is out of range of most of Ukraine's current drones. The added distance adds an extra 4 days of travel time. From central Russia, the train runs through a major hub of Rostov-on-Don towards occupied Donbass. These junctions matter because it's another location.
Cool you, I'm just yapping. Cool you, I don't know shit. So you have a train track, right? We have a train track here. And there's a train coming that we really want to stop. Couldn't you design some kind of bomb? If I was like a weapons company, I would design a bomb that specifically has one use only. It doesn't want to kill people, but it's a bomb that goes in and then creates such a big crater and, I don't know, something that the rebuilding of the railway is almost impossible. Some kind of bomb, like a railway buster, I want to say, that is somehow designed... creatively speaking, that you cannot repair the railway for a long time. Like something. I don't know, maybe there's Legos in it and you can't step on it. Thank you, EXG, man. Like a nuke, you know, a bit calmer. Just make sure they can't rebuild that shit for a long time. We're so close, chat. We almost have the bomb. Yeah, repairing railways is easy, but maybe you can figure something out to not make it easier, right? Just put Legos over it.
Where logistics can be further contested. In August 2025, Kyiv's HUR reported an increase in drone strikes on these rail hubs. The attacks don't stop the network, but they force reroutes and hour-long pauses. This route feeds larger depots around Donetsk city, and these depots are frequently targets for Ukrainian HIMARS, Storm Shadows, and one-way drone strikes. To mitigate this, Russia has opened new rail routes in 2025
they built them very
to create redundancy. Russia revived and extended occupied territory rail corridors to shorten the haul.
Even, like, the Rostov that makes sense. They protect them against ambushers. Because I was thinking, if you're a Russian citizen, you could probably be a nice rebel or resistance fighter by attacking these. But if there's armed soldiers there, fuck, man. That probably sucks.
Line cuts logistics routes by 300 kilometers and reduces dependence on the Kerch Bridge, which is itself frequently targeted. Russia moves 90% of its heavy supplies by rail. Every time Ukraine hits a rail junction, the effect cascades for hundreds of trains behind it. Moscow has established makeshift air defense hangouts outside major cities like Belgorod, where this is a frequent sight now. This is Russia's Oly seaport in Astrakhan Oblast. It's the location where Shahed-type drone components and ammunition arrives from Iran. Ukrainian commanders have now contested this line of logistics, frequently targeting this port. Yet trains can only carry supplies so far from...
If I was like the leader of Germany or some shit, or like Trump, I will try to make some kind of deal with Iran. No more drones to Russia, and you're allowed to have a nuke.
Depots in occupied Donbass, the loads have to move forward by road, and that's where the system becomes even more fragile. First, before we get into that, a message from Odoo, who sponsored the animations in this video.
Here's a
when I
message
first started
from
this company
Bomb.
6 months ago, the one thing I underestimated the most was to see how much easier Odoo can make your life. In 2024, Russian supply...
One thing I want to say though about the future of politics streams, about TommyKay politics streams, is I don't want to be a guy that just sits here and watches other people's content. It's a big part, it's important to learn, but I also sometimes want to do my own investigation, look at stuff, read papers. I don't just... Twitter is, I think, an important part there, but I feel a bit disgusted if I only react to people. That really feels kind of lazy, man.
Lines relied on a mix of standard military trucks like the Gaz and Kamaz, along with civilian cargo vehicles. Those trucks could carry several tons of fuel or ammo, but they had limited off-road capability. They were confined to established roads. That predictability made them easier targets. Independent analysts like Oryx documented Russian forces losing around 90 resupply trucks every month to Ukrainian FPV drone strikes in 2020.
That's genuinely logistical striking of CAS. They're literally doing this. Genuinely.
The Brits used that sort of munition during Desert Storm. It would destroy the runway, but at the same time deploy a ton of anti-personnel mines at the same time, making it hard to repair the runway. It was called the JP-233.
The Brits used that sort of ammunition during Desert Storm. It will destroy the runway. At the same time, deploy a ton of anti-personnel mines. Oh. Ah, interesting. Called the JP-233. Ah, interesting. I'm just yapping. I don't know. If I was like a weapons engineer, you make a bomb that puts some kind of substance on the ground that no one can walk there anymore. I don't mean radioactive, but something that they can't repair the railway. I don't know. If I was an engineer at the Hertog Koch, I will, or at Rheinmetall or something, I will try to make a bomb that lava, like infinite lava, yeah. Cartoon oil, yeah. Chemical warfare though would be a war crime. Ah, true. But Russia doesn't care much, huh?
Faced with these losses, Russia adapted. Rather than sending large convoys that could be destroyed in a single strike, units increasingly turned to smaller vehicles, ATVs, and even motorcycles for the final stretch of delivery. This is what logisticians call the last mile or tactical resupply. To adapt, supplies are no longer pushed forward in large shipments. Instead, they're broken down into smaller batches and delivered through multiple routes, reducing the risk. It's less efficient, but in a battlefield dominated by drones, efficiency has taken a back seat to survivability. The trade-off is clear: far less capacity, but greater survivability. As a result, Russian resupply near the front now looks fragmented, moving in small packets, mostly at night. Analysts estimate that supply runs that once averaged 4 deliveries per day to the front now are down to 1 or 2. By 2024, Ukrainian armed forces had also adapted to this new approach. In Kharkiv, for instance, they're using what's called...
Honestly, when this war is over, these people have to come to the EU, the Ukrainians, and teach our militaries, right? Have seminars, have PowerPoint presentations and shit like that.
Mobile depots.
We should totally
that
get them in
sounds like
here.
Some kind of giant command center, but in reality, it's a fleet of over 100,000 of the classic Toyota Hilux. These on-the-move supply depots ensure that supply of ammo and food reaches isolated units. This last stage has become the single most dangerous part of the war by 2025. Military generals want their strategy that they can create to dictate how to use their logistics, but what we're observing in 2025 appears to be the opposite. Over the last year, Russia has deployed logistics itself as a weapon. The concept is using rolling pressure by shifting limited assault power across different parts of the front. Here's how it's done. Russia doesn't have unlimited, high-quality, elite infantry storm units, so it cycles its best assault groupings, which are typically their VDV airborne, naval infantry, and select motor rifle brigades, between hot sectors. The aim is to force Ukraine to chase fires, to force the opponent to move shells, EW kits, air defense sections, and reserves from one axis to the next continually, a process that's slower and riskier in a drone.
A lot of Ukrainian soldiers come to the EU to learn from us, but a lot of people report that we're actually learning also a lot from the Ukrainians. Yeah, we gotta share knowledge, man, right? Very important against the Russian tyranny. Just one sec, we're so fucking close, chat. We could almost just wait now, get the achievement, man. We fucking done it. as Tsarist Russia develop a thermonuclear bomb. I will probably not even show it. Marconi on YouTube will now post a clip of the thermonuclear bomb going off. Fuck that, I'm not doing it. I don't give a shit, man. Fuck that. This campaign can suck my balls. But we did it. We have it. Man, that was annoying, eh? And boggled by the US. The early game was mad fun. I really enjoyed that. Very clean play, speed-free, fun. But then everybody saw it. The game just became fucking ridiculous. And we have to ask ourselves, why did the game become ridiculous? Once again, one of my biggest critiques, the peace deals are a joke. They even have been fixed already. But the peace deals to me are a joke. Terrible, terrible. And there it fucking is, man. As Tsarist Russia. Complete, even, I thought it would be less than 0.3. Complete thermonuclear bomb. Okay. I'm doing this for you guys. One sec. I'm doing this for you. Just to finish this real quick. Thermonuclear bomb Hoi 4. There has to be a thing of that. Here we go. Oh shit. Yeah. It's also the only bomb in the game, I think, that destroys organization and equipment of units. Okay, epic. Okay, back to topic. That was Hoi 4, man. GG. Alles gut, alles gut. Okay,
saturated war.
Gameplay.
ISW and Reuters reporting across summer and fall of 2025 described this sequential push phase. You may recall the Kharkiv push. Then troops were rotated by Russia to the line in Sumy and Kursk. Then Russian troops and equipment were rotated again to Pokrovsk most recently. In Ukraine, I saw the same elite striker quick reaction forces that fought in Kursk were redeployed to Pokrovsk. Russians' well-trained troops rotate...
No. Nukes actually destroy orc and equipment too, but only in the direct hit, where the thermonuclear bomb actually destroys all the units in the entire province. I kind of understood in multiplayer that thermonuclear bombs are the ultimate last thing. If you can't kill somebody in multiplayer, thermonuclear bomb.
In the same way. This is why having the momentum and being able to choose the time and place of battles is so important, because it's less logistic strain when you're prepared. There are different names for this military strategy. You could call it an active defense. Germany calls it their shifting Schwerpunkt, economy of force, or operational level force cycling. They all have similar principles, which is dynamically changing.
It's pretty much how human beings play Hoi 4 with the shifting Schwerpunkt. You have the front line, and you mostly normally don't battle plan, but you have 3 tanks. The tanks are looking at a special position, and that's your Schwerpunkt, right? Your specialty.
Point or the main weight of effort of a strategy or operation, rather than maintaining a fixed objective. You can see the pattern around Pokrovsk. In August 2025, a small Russian detachment infiltrated deep enough to sever one of the town's 2 remaining supply corridors from Kramatorsk. Ukraine rushed quick reaction reserves to plug the gap. Each time quick reaction forces are rotated, it means supplies have to move, which means risking moving in the open. Troops now rotate to the front not for a week, but for over a month at a time, and they only change during periods of inclement weather or at night and under heavy suppressing fire barrages. Assault elements pull off of spent axis for a few weeks to absorb replacements by Russia. RUSI's field notes describe Russia's pattern. When defenses are disrupted, small assault groups repeat short, high-cost pushes, then units step back to reconstitute. A great way to understand this is the difference between what logisticians call push versus pull systems. Western armies often run on what's called pull logistics. Units at the front signal what they need, and supplies flow forward in response, creating a flexible feedback loop. It's like Amazon Prime for artillery shells. Your demand drives the system. The cons are that it requires excellent communication and more complex planning and tracking. Russian forces originally, by contrast, inherited a Soviet-style push logistics system. Supplies are moved forward on predetermined schedules that were dictated from the top, with little room for adjustment. The pros are that it's predictable, simple planning, commanders know when and what resupply is coming from. There's less reliance on frontline units to communicate or forecast accurately. But the cons are that there's little room or flexibility to adapt. This is why they're now trying to move away from that to adapt to a drone-saturated battlefield.
Jesus.
And the issue goes deeper. Russia's logistics corps has far fewer trucks per unit than NATO equivalents and a much higher tooth-to-tail ratio, about 6 combat soldiers for every 1 support soldier, compared to the roughly 1 in 10 in the US Army. And the way Russia's tried to rebalance this is by turning foot soldiers into logisticians themselves with their ATV units. Rotating units through these same trenches has an unintended side effect as well. The soldiers who dig fighting positions with their own hands are rarely the ones who get to benefit from them. When a unit is forced to rotate, another rotates in, and often has to start the same work all over again. Both armies have to deal with this dilemma. The constant churn discourages the kind of deep fortifications that could make defensive lines more resilient. The broader pattern tracks with how the war itself has evolved. Analysts describe the first year of the war as relatively mobile, small, well-equipped forces trading ground quickly. The second year saw both sides consolidating their positions.
Did they actually, on the start of invasion, invade out of Belarus? I totally forgot that. Did that actually happen? Dude, that is so fucking not okay, man. That Belarus was used as a staging ground. They're part of this war, man. We should invade these fuckers. Should straight up go in there. Polish people. You have 40,000 people ready. The fuck, man?
Deliberate
just fucking not.
Attempts to breach the line of contact. By the third year, the conflict has become highly attritional, with both Russia and Ukraine focused less on breakthroughs and more about simply inflicting maximum damage on one another. Russia's trying to use its manpower advantage to grind down Ukraine's ability to rotate troops and sustain logistics. It appears in early 2025, Ukrainian troops began reporting a new Russian approach that analysts now call the triple chokehold, which sounds like a wrestling move, so I prefer the other name for it, the offensive triangle, and it works in 3 steps. First, persistent small unit infiltrations, fixed defenders along the line of contact.
Sounds like if this is the new meta of small infiltration, you have to be very close with the reconnaissance. Always look for movement. There's an infiltration there, something there. You can't sleep. You can't sleep on that stuff.
And force them to burn through ammunition. Second, drones, artillery, and scattered mines target the near-rear roads, casualty evacuation routes, and ammo points, making movement itself dangerous. Third, once positions are identified and pinned, Russian glide bombs hammer the dug-in defensives that would otherwise survive conventional fires. The net effect isn't dramatic arrows on a map, it's a steady strangling of maneuver and resupply at the last mile. This creates a difficult dilemma. Should Ukraine dig in deeper to resist?
Send me a video, please, on the French tanker seizing the French Navy seizing a Russian tanker that apparently launched drones on Copenhagen. Send me a video. What?
And artillery.
I did the news for 2 days and already there's so much going on.
Targeted by glide bombs. Analysts at RUSI note that.
Are you fucking kidding me? What is going on? 1 sec. Dude, I really need Twitter for TommyKay News. If I would be allowed to pause this, I would be very welcoming of that. Why Denmark? They always go for the small ones, guys.
That either choice carries significant risks. Tactically, infiltrations and accumulations matter. Small Russian groups move by multiple approaches to
It feels almost like a prediction that when Russia puts drones over Denmark, Oslo, even the Baltic Sea in Germany, like they're trying to scare the population, thinking a scared population will be less inclined to help Ukraine, which I feel like you're doing the opposite. You even more make them feel like, fuck Russia, let's fight you little bitches.
Set rally points beyond Ukraine's what's called FLOT or forward line of troops. Then they accrete into assault packets. Russia's endgame with this approach may be twofold. On one hand, it could be an attempt to secure incremental territorial gains. On the other, it could simply be an attempt to exhaust Ukrainian manpower and logistics until the system breaks. It appears Russia is attempting to pave the way for a larger operational collapse and recapture of wider areas. At the same time, Ukraine is adopting new tools to stay in the fight. The shipment of artillery shells for Ukraine begins in a journey at the Scranton Army Ammunition Plant in Pennsylvania. Here, steel casings are machined, filled, and once completed, the shells are palletized into 40-foot shipping containers. From Newark, a transatlantic crossing of nearly 4,000 miles takes about 12 days by container ship. the cargo is offloaded, inspected, and transferred to Polish state railways. The supply line starts to be contested here for the first time by Russia's hackers. They target these pieces of critical infrastructure in Europe with destructive malware that's used to delay the shipments. Access to these ports' digital networks is used by Russian operatives to monitor shipments of weapons and aid. From Poland's port, the artillery shells container travel another 400 miles south to Rzeszów logistics hub, just 60 miles from the Ukrainian border. The US Army calls this location the Logistics Enabling Node Poland, or LENP for short. It handles receipt, warehousing, distribution, and final prep of the major equipment before release to the armed forces of Ukraine, including things like artillery and M2 Bradley shipments. It also functions as a retrograde MRO hub, or maintenance repair overhaul. LENP gives the added security of being located within Allied territory while pushing sustainment close to the edge of battle. The US Army's Defense Logistics Agency noted the Korova database is how Ukraine communicates its requests for ammunition to the entire Allied network in one transparent location that everyone can view. So if the artillery battery in Pokrovsk on the front line is authorized a shipment of 5,000 artillery shells, 2,000 of that can come from this shipment of the United States, and 3,000 can come from various European countries' contributions, and the Korova database coordinates this and puts it together. NATO has ringed this hub here in Poland with Patriot and NASAMS air defense systems and F-35s because roughly 80% of aid to Ukraine passes through here. With recent Russian fighter jets and drone incursions violating NATO airspace, Russia is
also be fucking with supply lines.
Starting to probe at and contest this part of the supply chain for the first time in 2025. From Rzeszów, trucks carry the artillery shell pallets east on the A4 motorway. Once inside, the state railway takes over. This lifeline to the outside world has for the first time come under attack starting in 2025. This is the same rail line that world leaders and most civilian passengers as well as military equipment has taken into Kyiv. As a target, it was a logistics route that seemed to be off limits until this year.
The one thing I learned in the army is that they taught us in the army, there's always talk between intelligence services. Always. Like, they were kind of telling us that if a European leader takes a train into Kiev, they talk to the Russian intelligence and are like, this train, don't fucking touch it. If you touch it, it's gonna be a fucking diplomatic nightmare. And they're like actually talking a little bit about this stuff.
Cargo is then pushed to a regional depot near Kyiv and then broken down into smaller convoys, dispersing the load so that no single strike can wipe out an entire shipment. Here, Russian physical attacks on an energy infrastructure slows shipments down.
A significant chunk of European population in countries further from Russia are skeptical to continuing support for Ukraine in fear of Russian retaliation. Show me a link. Like, is there a poll or something? More regular people, particularly those that support populist parties that push for a similar agenda, feel supporting Ukraine is a waste of their money. I still think it's a small. Like in Germany, it's like 25% or something, which still means 75% are pro helping Ukraine. We will have to look at like a poll or study or something on that.
Attacks last year destroyed 8 thermal plants, reducing power capacity.
Let's be real. If Russia truly wanted Ukraine, they would have taken it in a week. Let's be real. I don't think so. Have you seen the last 3 years, buddy?
By 9 gigawatts, which is half of Ukraine's total power capacity, and power generation has caused rolling blackouts. Reduced power capacity means that cities have up to 12 hours a day of power cuts, which makes refueling and charging drone batteries more difficult and time-consuming. The route from Kyiv is 300
Ukraine is not winning either. I would say if a country with 2% of the money that NATO has for military is holding off the supposedly 3rd biggest army in the world, I think that's a kind of a win in my book.
Miles along the E40 highway to the city of Dnipro. Finally, the last leg follows the M40 highway another 120 miles to reach the town of Pokrovsk at the front. By this point, the shells have traveled nearly 5,000 miles from the factory floor in Pennsylvania to within striking.
Like this industry, building, jobs, transport, so much involved, and all you do is you shoot them and you probably hit a piece of dirt, man. War is so dumb, and it's not dumb if you make money off this, right? If the investment goes to you. But how fucking dumb that actually is in in terms of objectively thinking about the human race, man. How much resources we've thrown to that dumb shit.
Distance of the Eastern Front. The economics are stark. A single
Russia's
FPV
looking to
drone
the second strongest army. I don't know about that, bro.
costing only a few $100s.
Sounds like a lot of dictatorship fake news. Yeah, we have a lot of army. Don't worry. Yes, I have big army.
Can disable a truck carrying tens of thousands of dollars in ammunition. That imbalance is what makes this stage of delivery not just dangerous, but decisive. On top of that, Russian units have begun scattering remote landmines along approach roads, damaging tires and forcing convoys to slow, which increases their...
They are ranked 2 because of nuke numbers. Pussies hiding behind nukes, hiding like behind a big brother.
Exposure time. Open source evidence shows just how lethal this final stretch has become in 2025. The Ukrainian Ministry of Defense has documented hundreds of drone ambushes against logistics convoys, and geolocated footage regularly confirms FPV strikes on trucks along critical routes like the H20 and M330 highways near the Donbass. Analysts at the Royal United Services Institute estimate that by mid-2025, Russian production had reached tens of thousands of FPV drones per month, enough to maintain near continuous coverage over the most important supply arteries. Both sides in 2025 have improvised...
There's a lot of military institutions and firms that are probably already working hard on better drones, anti-drone warfare, iron domes against drones,
defenses to protect transport. One of the most striking examples visible in these field videos is the use of fishing line or thin wire strung between poles to form makeshift corridors or...
Genius. Wow. That's... If someone would have taught you 5 years ago that this is modern warfare, right? You wouldn't have believed it, but that's how the human race goes. That's how life is. This is a picture of modern warfare, man.
Tunnels for supply trucks, designed to snag or deflect incoming drones, but these barriers rarely last long. Supply posts are themselves frequent targets, and OSINT footage shows they're often destroyed within hours, forcing units to rebuild them every night just to maintain passage. Marco and Julia work for the Al-Hariri
Germany just showed this
autonomous combat drone, the CA-1 Europa, at an event in Tussenhausen.
What company is this? It looks like cyberpunk stuff.
Helsings-Leiterin der Geschäftsführer Helsing Deutschland sowie der Grob Aircraft.
Was labert er?
Wolfgang Gammel.
The aircraft marks a major step in Europe's efforts to strengthen homegrown military technology and reduce reliance on foreign systems.
Aren't the drones we see in Ukraine much smaller?
The drone is designed to operate with advanced AI, enabling coordinated missions and flexible deployment. It reflects a push toward scalable, mission-specific systems that can work together across Europe's defense networks. Here's what Helsing co-CEO and co-founder
different sizes for different loads.
AI is not just a feature, it actually shapes the design.
It looks a bit like Skynet, right? It looked a bit like that fucking thing in the last movie.
It shapes the way that you think about your mission, your ConOps, how you actually fight. And therefore, mastering this and actually having complex software enables you to work with simpler hardware. And that made us actually acquire Grob Aircraft, an aircraft company specialized in the 3 to 5 ton segment, which is very relevant for this size. And together with our partners, we think we can actually offer a truly sovereign, blended option that builds on that. But AI is not a feature, it's actually the thing that designs it, and therefore we think it was fitting that we would, as an AI company, build an autonomous system. And with
Couldn't Bert Schaaf sounds like a Bond villain?
As we have called it.
Let's hope he's using their drones on our side.
To Europe, to do this from Europe for Europe. But fundamentally, the idea is that instead of having few very complex systems, fighter jets that are multi-role as in the past, we rather want to have many simpler, mission-specific, and even attritable platforms that then work together intelligently in swarms. So I think the idea of a drone war, whilst it means different things to different people, I think is a very sensible idea. First and foremost, I think it's focused right now on drone defense, so being able to intercept drones that in a more efficient way than we've been currently doing. I think that makes a lot of sense. Personally, the way I think about that problem, air defense, and the role that Helsing could play in that, we think this will ultimately not be any single product, but it will be a system of systems that is needed. Air defense is a complex problem. There's different altitudes, different speeds, different assets that may be coming towards you, and they will need a holistic effort of multiple companies as part of a bigger system of systems, or a drone wall, if you will.
That's big, man. Jeez.
Company
modern warfare, man.
executives
Less and less
highlighted the
human
role
beings
of
involved.
artificial
More and more
intelligence
automated.
in shaping the
We, this stream, literally bought a drone. We bought a drone for the Ukrainian army last week, right? An unmanned vehicle.
drone's design and mission capabilities. The unveiling comes as European nations debate the future of defense cooperation and autonomous systems.
Okay. War is a lot about money, huh? Almost done here.
Air logistics company that runs supplies through Ukraine, and they said in an interview long convoys of trucks are currently prohibited as they are potential targets.
Yeah, I mean, they learned that day one, man. You guys remember? You guys remember the videos and pictures? I don't want to be an arrogant asshole, but if I'm Russia and it's day one of the invasion, one of the first things I learned in the army, I was screaming this at my viewers in Hell of News. Spread out. Be spread, right? One of the most basics of war. And they're just like, we'll drive 50 trucks as clumped as we can, okay?
Deliveries have to be smaller now.
Fuck, man?
The same applies to rail transport. We don't have many rail cars available at the moment, and the state company can only provide a limited number. Once the supplies pass as far east as Kyiv along the highways, each kilometer east becomes far more deadly, and the roads become more pocked with craters and explosives. Furthermore, the supply trucks are stopped.
Expect the unexpected, man. Sun Tzu out of war. You gotta fucking, come on. There's no excuse for what they did. It was terrible.
At frequent checkpoints that require rotating passwords every few kilometers, designed to stop Russian saboteurs, which has the downside of also slowing supplies down. The logistics agency explains that
I still believe the number one quote of this war is gonna be that soldier that said, "We're so fucking lucky. They're so fucking stupid."
for oversized cargo or machinery, provided either restrictions allow it, they recommend keeping the cargo assembled as much as possible to maintain its dimensions. This is crucial because Ukraine is currently facing a significant shortage of welders to put things back together. This is a double-edged sword, so to speak. Ukraine and Russia have now extensively used drones for logistics themselves to deliver supplies to isolated cut-off soldiers, but these drones are contested by electronic warfare and have limits of payloads between 100 to 200 pounds, or roughly 2 artillery shells. But using drones to deliver supplies has even more limitations.
Looks like UFOs, right? Imagine that, telling that to your grandpa who fought in World War II, man. Dude, that is the future of warfare. UFOs.
For both sides. As Russian military blogger wrote online, quote, "Logistics are a disaster. They're trying to deliver supplies with drones, but this isn't an open field. The forest here is dense. Delivering anything there is nearly impossible. Tree canopies, branches interfere. Enemy drones hover above the forest for days on end."
I honestly, swear to God, I sometimes, not often, have war dreams. I have dreams where Vladimir Putin is my dream. I had this dream where Vladimir Putin was like hunting me in my school. I had a dream where I had to go to Ukraine and fight there. I remember that. I remember that was weeks ago. I had a dream. I had to drive a truck into Ukraine at night. And I thought, I was thinking like, I'm just here to bring them something. And then I was leaving the base, but then they attacked. And I had to like drive through corners and hide from the tanks and stuff. Did you guys not have a single dream about this war in the last 3 years? I had some dreams about this war. I dreamt a bit about this war, 100%. You guys never had that? No? Never? Huh. I did. I had some. A lot of that? A lot of yes, no,
Filming, correcting fire, waiting for any mistake to immediately strike, end quote. Medical evacuation has been disrupted in the same way. What once took...
So this is what we're a bit involved in here on this stream, because our great viewer Markic is part of this. Medical evacuation, that's his job. And what we did in the last week's fundraiser with 6,800 euros, once again, shout out to all the people donating. We bought them a drone. You will see later. It's a big drone that comes out of here. It's a big thing. It drives there and picks up a wounded soldier and brings it back away again. We paid for this, man. We as a community, and I'm still so fucking proud of that, man. Thank you, Gurkenpflanze. I just sent them the money. They said they will make a video showing it and saying thank you. Thank you, Gürkchen. And I'm very happy about that. Obviously, we should all do so much more. I wish we will... You guys know me. I'm very pro-escalation. I think we should help Ukraine 50 billion times more.
20 minutes to get a casualty evacuated now takes many days, since most movements happen at night to avoid drones. In many cases, evacuations are carried out on foot or in small armored robotic.
This is kind of what we bought, chat. This is kind of, in a different version, what we donated for.
Vehicles rather than in dedicated ambulances. The extra time has a direct effect on survival rates, especially for serious injuries where minutes can make the difference. The Army's Material Command has deployed its Predictive Analytics Suite, or APAS, to help Ukrainian logisticians monitor the health of complex equipment like the more than 300 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles that have been delivered. In practice, it gives Commander a live dashboard of the fleet's condition and helps anticipate failures before they happen.
It's becoming more and more video
American
game,
planners even talk now about logistics.
So one day they're going to actually call us, chat. They're going to call us
as kill chains, a recognition that supply systems themselves have become central to combat power. All of this underscores a larger point. In this war of attrition, where territorial gains are limited and costly, disrupting supply lines has become just as important as the tactical movements on the ground. The result is that
I don't think this video feels very AI script made. I think this video felt good and he did a great job.
The third year has moved firmly into a war of attrition. Logistics has become even more contested than the battlefield itself. The challenge is safely getting weapons and ammo distributed to the thousands of fighting positions, bunkers, and trench lines scattered across the
And once again, one of the main thoughts I always have when you watch these videos, why? For what? For one crazy fucker in the Kremlin, man. Because of a small group of rich asshole cunts across the world. All because of 1,250
kilometers or 800-mile long front line. A steady flow of shells, fuel, and spare parts is now what keeps the army surviving. And that means the outcome isn't decided only on the front, but also hundreds or even thousands of miles away at rail junctions, ports, and fuel depots. Decide they can keep their corridors open despite drones, missiles, and cyber attacks is the side that will be able to continue fighting tomorrow. If you enjoyed this video,
she slipped through my fingers like sand. Heard that she had a man. Now I'm just sitting here sad. Oh well, ship sail. She slipped through my fingers like sand.